Hey, welcome back to Eepa's Kitchen. Today, we're going to make a quick breakfast sandwich. It's kind of a favorite of ours around here. We're going to do some buttermilk biscuits. We're going to fry some chicken. And then we're making a peach habanero sauce to go over the top of it. The peaches are homegrown. A couple of years ago, we just were inundated with peaches. It's like an every other year type of thing around here. We were making peach everything. So we ended up with a bunch that were frozen. So what we're using today was stuff that we pulled out of the freezer. And we're going to go ahead and use that in the sauce along with a couple other ingredients we're going to come over here and take a look at. So what we have is our peaches. It's a couple of cups. It's probably 2-3 peaches in there. We're going to save a few extra pieces so we can have some chunks at the end. We'll explain that. We've got half a habanero. We grew these in the garden not long ago and froze a bunch of them. Your preference on heat is totally up to you. So we use about a half. It gives it a nice kick. We remove the seeds from it and dice it up. There's a clove of garlic and a pinch of salt in there. We've got some water, some apple cider vinegar, quarter of a lemon, and some honey. So we're going to put all this together in the pitcher, in the measuring cup here. We'll go ahead and put it in the blender. We'll give it a quick blend, make it smooth. We get a little saucepan to put it in. We'll get it on the stove. We'll cook it for a little while just to kind of get it to simmer. Then we'll cut it back to low and we'll just let it sit while we get everything else together. So what we'll do is we'll go ahead and add our apple cider vinegar, a couple tablespoons. Same thing with the water. Then the garlic, about a half a clove of garlic, half a teaspoon of salt. And then again, the habanero, that's totally up to you, depending on how spicy you like it. Over here, anything more than about a half a habanero kind of sets people's mouth on fire, so we go with that as our max. All right, got our lemon, a quick squish. All right, and then the honey, a couple teaspoons, a little bit more if you like it sweet. There you go. All right, we're going to take all that, add it to the blend tech. All right. We're just going to blend it till it's smooth. Go ahead and just use the pulse. Just want to make sure everything gets mixed up in there real good. You don't want any big chunks of everything. That looks good there. And then what we'll do is we'll pour it in a saucepan. Ooh, that already smells good. You got to get that sweet, the spicy, and it blends real well with the chicken. We're going to go ahead and take that. We're going to go ahead and put it on the stove. We'll get it a nice little simmer, and we'll get moving on. I'm going to set the flame on low. All right, give it a quick stir. Make sure we're all mixed up in there. We've got the other chunky peaches. We'll add those a little later once we get it cooked. Put the lid on. We'll come back and check in a little bit. Okay, we're going to prep our chicken. You can use tenders. Chicken tenders are real nice. They're a little expensive. I got a great deal on some chicken breasts, so we're just going to use one chicken breast. We're going to get a few sandwiches out of this. But because it's so thick, we're going to go ahead and we're going to butterfly it a little bit. We're just kind of start at this fat end here. We're not looking for perfection because when we're done, we're going to go ahead and pound it out a little bit with our mallet. We want it thin so it cooks evenly. Otherwise, we'll be at this all day. All right. I'm going to go ahead and put it maybe in like 4 pieces. Okay. All right. So with this, we're going to transfer it over. This cutting board I've got covered with plastic. Makes cleanup easy. And when you're pounding it, keeps you from splattering yourself. I'm going to grab a little bit more plastic wrap, cover the top. Use the flat end of the hammer. take a little of the aggression out. You're having a bad day, this is a great sandwich to be making. Pull that plastic back and we'll take a look at what we did here. I got that nice and thin. You can buy cutlets, real thin cutlets if you want. Again, it's how much you want to spend. I think I got these chicken breasts on sale at 99 cents a pound, so this was a great deal for us. So we're going to go ahead and we're going to take these. We're going to make our marinade for it, a little bit of a batter. We're going to transfer in there and we're going to let it sit. And then we're going to move on to making our biscuits. So I just wash my hands real quick. We'll get this started. So one of the things you want to be careful about, especially when you're working with raw chicken, but you want to worry about cross-contamination. So you don't want to be using raw chicken on the same board you're prepping anything else on. That's why we've got plastic all over everything here. Just, again, it's a cleanup thing. The cutting board that we prepped, that we went ahead and sliced the chicken on, it's already off. We're in the sink, ready to be washed. We're not going to use that for anything else. The knife's gone, so we're going to start out fresh. So we're going to go ahead and peel this plastic back before, and we're going to go ahead and get our little plate set up here that we're going to marinate our chicken breasts in. It's fairly simple. It's about 1.5 cups of buttermilk, and then I've already pre-portioned the spices. There's garlic powder, black pepper, cayenne pepper, smoked paprika, and kosher salt. All right, we're going to put that in there. We'll mix it up just a smidge. Get all those flavors in. You can smell it. The paprika coming out. The smoked paprika really adds an extra level of flavor. All mixed in. Okay, and then we're just going to go ahead and add our chicken breasts in. You can leave these in here, half hour. Really doesn't take too much time. By the time we're done prepping the biscuits and getting them in the oven, they'll have sat long enough to absorb the flavors we're looking for. Plus, it's going to add moisture for the breading that we add to it. All right, I think that's it. I'm going to go ahead and clean this up, and then we're going to go ahead and start with the biscuits. All right, so we're going to start our buttermilk biscuits. We've got 3.5 cups of flour. In here, we've got our baking powder, baking soda, and salt. We're going to mix all the dry ingredients together. So we've got 1.5 teaspoons of salt, 4 teaspoons of baking powder, and 1 teaspoon of baking soda. I'm not the baker in the family, but I do like to make these biscuits. But as you can see, I make a mess when I bake. Next thing we're going to do is we're going to add 10 tablespoons of cold butter. What I've done is, and I'll show you, I've pre-prepped it. So I've cut it into little chunks. It just makes life easier. Put it back in the fridge so it's nice and hard when you put it in. You want it nice and cold when you add it. And then we've got our pastry cutter to cut it in. So as you can see, I made little chunks out of them. It just makes life easier adding it on here. And when it comes to cutting it up, you throw a whole stick of cold butter in here, plus another 2 tablespoons. It's a lot of work. And although I enjoy this, I don't want to work hard. I just want to eat and have fun. So a little something about these biscuits. We have these, if we don't have these a couple times a month, there's a problem. Family likes them. Mia loves them. And quick story about that. Today, it's just Derek and I. We had to change our recording schedule this week. So it's just the two of us today. Mia was off early to go make the world a happier and more beautiful place. Generally, she tells me, I love you, have a great day, have fun, whatever. Today, knowing what we were making, the last thing she said to me, and I kid you not, was, you better save me some biscuits. So this is a favorite of hers. You can see, I don't know if you can get a good shot of that, Derek. There's you want to get the butter to be like pea size or smaller. So we're just going to go ahead and do a little bit more chopping in here. Once we get that done, we're going to add our buttermilk, 1 1/3 cups of buttermilk to this. We're going to mix it a little bit. It doesn't take long. We just want to try and get it to gel together. And then we'll pop it out here on the board with a little bit of flour. We'll pat it out. You don't need a rolling pin or anything. We'll kind of mush it out to the thickness we want. We've already got the skillet in the oven, and that's set at 450. Might have mentioned that already. You want to get that done ahead of time. We'll pull the skillet out. We'll transfer the biscuits in, and they take about 13 minutes in the oven. All right, so we're going to go ahead and grab our buttermilk. I'm going to make just a little dimple here in the center. We'll pour it in. All right, and then we're just going to mix it. I'm going to try and combine all that before we stick our hands in it. All right, so we got our dough formed. I put a little bit of flour on the board so we can kind of squish this out a little bit and prepare to make our biscuits. Oh yeah. So it's kind of a preference thing about how tall you want them, how thick you make your dough here. So we're making sandwiches. So I want to be able to split them. So I'm going to go, maybe 3/4 of an inch. So that way when they puff up, I can cut them in half. And we have two nice portions. Now, one thing about biscuits, especially these buttermilk biscuits, I said I'm not a baker, but I do know a few things. When you put your cutter in, you don't want to twist it because you want to make sure that you leave all those air pockets open so that it'll rise. So when you put it in, you just go straight down and out. All right. So that's my Eepa's tip of the day on biscuits. The other thing is, you're gonna make a mess. I'm gonna get some of this dough off my hands, so I'm not making a total mess of the kitchen here. And then we'll go ahead and we'll start cutting the biscuits. All right, be right back. All right, so we're gonna start cutting these guys. So like I said before, we're just gonna push straight down through here. Line it up, get as many as we can. All right, move these to the side. And we'll squish this together and get a couple more out of this. All right, maybe we get one more. Let's see what we can do here. All right. Just get this one a quick squish. Put it in like that. See if there's room in the pan for that one. All right. Go ahead and get the skillet out. Now this oven's at 450, so this skillet's really, really hot. So please don't touch it with your bare hands. All right, we'll take this over. And then we're just gonna put them in and around the edges. Gonna fill it in here. You already can hear them sizzling a little bit, that butter starting to go. All right, we got room for our misshapen one. That guy right there. All right, so we're gonna go ahead and we're gonna put them back in. I'll set the timer for 13 minutes. And then we'll check them and see if we need to give them a little bit more. And while that's going, real quick while we're here, we'll go ahead and start the flame on this pan here, the skillet. All right, I'm gonna put it at a little higher than medium high. I'm gonna add just enough vegetable oil so I can kind of cover the bottom. There's probably half a cup in there. All right. Then we're going to come back over here. We're going to mix up our breading for our chicken. We're going to bread it. By that time, we'll check the oil, make sure it's about 350 degrees, and we're going to get it frying up. Okay, so we're going to mix up our breading for the chicken. I've got about a cup and a half of flour. There's a couple of teaspoons of smoked paprika. There's a couple tablespoons of cornstarch. I got a couple teaspoons of garlic powder. There's a teaspoon of black pepper and about a half a teaspoon of cayenne pepper. So similar to what we put in over here. Again, you can adjust that for your own flavor, you know, what you like as far as spice-wise. This, if you eat this without the sauce, just this chicken like this, it's fantastic. So it's a really nice, you know, got a really nice flavor profile. It's a little spicy. And then when we add it to that peach sauce we have, you get the sweet and spicy together, the crisp of the chicken, the breading. It's all good there. Get all those spices mixed in. You see that paprika, and you can really smell the smoked paprika. I don't know how much of that you guys use. I love it. The whole kitchen smells good when you use it. That looks good. Okay. Go ahead and we're going to just take the chicken out of the marinade we made for it. Drip that off a little bit. Try to use 2 hands separate. One for the wet, one for the dry. Makes clean your hands up easier at the end of the day. So put it in. Put a little flour on top. Pat it down. And then flip it just to check to make sure you got that side good. All right. Then we'll just kind of set it back in its spot there. We'll go ahead with the next one. Same deal. You see how we got some bare spots on this one. We'll give it an extra turn. Make sure we're clear. Oh yeah. Breading is really, really good. You don't want to waste on that. We got a little guy here. I think we are good. I'm going to go ahead and wash my hands, and then we're going to temp the oil. We want it to be at least 350 degrees. That's going to help us kind of get that nice sizzle on it. If you put it in when it's cold, excuse me, you're going to get like just a real limp. The breading's going to fall off. It's going to be greasier than you're looking for. So give me a minute to go ahead and wash up, and we'll go ahead and get started. Okay, before we start frying our chicken, I'm going to go ahead and take a look at this sauce real quick. We haven't checked it in a little while. It's just starting to bubble a little bit and get a little bit of steam. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to add those chunks of peaches we had. It's just going to add a nice texture. It's not for flavor or anything. It's just a nice texture for when you're putting it on the sandwich. So we just got a couple of slices there. You know, I started off in the beginning talking about how we grew these peaches and we froze them. You can use fresh peaches. You can use something out of a can. It's a little late in the season, so we don't have the fresh ones anymore. That's why we're using the frozen. But frozen peaches from the backyard, always better than something you're going to get from the store. So I'm going to get my Insta-Read thermometer out. We're going to check the temp on this oil. See where we're at. We are getting close. We're at about 310 degrees. So we're going to give it just a sec before we start. Tell you a little bit about this. So every year for probably the last 8 years or so, me and I would go to this music event in South Carolina on the Isle of Palms. We're Hazelnuts, if you know the band Sister Hazel. It's a great weekend of fun, music, just getting together with people you haven't seen in a while, just really enjoying the weather. The ocean's out there, you know, there's a great bar to go to. But while we're there, there's just a bunch of great little restaurants on the Isle of Palms. And one of them, it's a breakfast place we tried. And the first time I had this similar recipe to this, it was a biscuit with a habanero peach chutney they made. It was real chunky, real flavorful. So ever since then, I've been trying to recreate it. So that's kind of what we're doing here. So, you know, just a little, you know, if you get out to the Isle of Palms, stop by the Biscuit Cafe. It's a special that they have, so maybe they have it, maybe they don't, but their biscuits are always fantastic. So if you get an opportunity, stop in over there, give them a shout out. It's really good stuff. So, all right. So I'm guessing we're good here. I can see the oil shimmering. You can always flick a little flour in there and see how it bubbles, but I think we're good to go. So I'm going to grab our chicken. And we're just going to go ahead and gently lay it in. Oh yeah, it's sizzling up good there. I'm going to put a little more flour on this guy. He's sitting for a while. All right. Depending on the size of your skillet, you might not be able to do all these at once. You might only do 2 or 3 at a time. This is a 10-inch. Oh, based on the size of the chicken and the amount of oil we have, I'm pretty sure we're going to be able to get them all in here. The only problem with overloading it, if the oil's not hot, you're going to lower the temperature. And again, you're going to run into that, getting that greasy, soggy chicken, which we don't want. I think we're good to go here. All right, we're going to let that cook. It's probably about 5-6 minutes aside. What we'll do is we'll wait till it gets real golden on one side, a little crispy. We'll flip it over. We'll cook it for another 5 minutes, 7 minutes on that side. We'll look for that golden crispness. We'll probably do a quick check inside to make sure it's not pink. And then by that time, we'll have our biscuits out. We'll go ahead and we'll spread some sauce, and we'll have a couple drinks, and we'll have some a nice little breakfast sandwich. All right? So our timer went off on the biscuits. I looked at them. They weren't quite golden as I like them. So I put them in for another 2, but they're ready to come out now. So I'm going to go ahead and pull those. Oh. And we talked about the skillet being so hot. You see how they rose up a little bit. I'll bring one over. You take a look. I flip them over. See how you're getting that little brown on the bottom? So what I normally do, especially if we're waiting a little bit for stuff, is I'm going to go ahead and flip them all over in there so they don't get too dark on one side. And I'm going to drop that one on the floor, because nothing ever goes right. How many times have you guys cooked and you've had to swear because things didn't go right, you dropped something, you're like, am I the only one that does that? No, you are not. All right, so those guys are all flipped. The chicken is ready to be turned. Again, hot skillet, turn them over. Nice golden brown. Oh God, that looks good. And you can smell it. Oh, and then the spices and everything. Oh, it smells so good. Derek is still working on smell-o-vision so that you guys can get the whole deal on here. So we're going to give those another, we're going to check in about 4 or 5 minutes. We'll see how the other side looks. Once they get crispy, based on how thin we pounded them, they should be good to go. But anything like this, especially with the chicken, I'm going to go ahead and just give it a little slit inside with a knife just to make sure we're good. And we're going to eat up. All right, so we made a little slit. I just checked them just to make sure they look good inside. So we are good. It's nice and crusty on both sides. Crispy, I guess, would be a little better word than crusty. So I got a little pan here, a little foil on the bottom and a grate so we can let them drain for a sec. We're going to go ahead and pull them out. Try and keep all that breading. There's your flavor right there. Oh yeah. Cut that flame off. And we'll go ahead and cut the flame off on the sauce too. All right. Bring the chicken over, you can see that. Nice and crispy. We lost a little breading there. I actually saved it. So Mia's not a big fan of the proteins. She doesn't do a lot of meat or chicken, but she'll eat the heck out of the crispy pieces that fall off. So we make sure we save those for her as well. All right, so bring our sauce over. Go ahead and stir that up a little bit. You can see that now it's not quite so baby food smooth. There's some chunks in there, and that's what we're looking for, just to add a little texture to it. And then our biscuits. And one more. This guy. All right. So we've got our biscuits, got our sauce. We're gonna go ahead, plate a couple. Derek and I need lunch. Get a knife, we'll open this up. They're nice and flaky, but they're gonna be moist because all that butter and buttermilk. You can kind of see the steam coming out of them. How nice that looks. Those little air pockets. All right. And we'll go ahead. Do one big one on here for Derek. Boom. He's been working hard behind the camera today. A little bit of sauce. All right. A little bit there too. All right. Go ahead and fold that over. I get a nice look from the side. And to make it easier to eat, that's what I'm all about. Let's see if we can cut this guy in half without destroying it. Oh yeah, that'll work. There we go. All right, a little bit of garnish for the plate. So today, we're gonna go with a little bit of persimmon. 'Tis the season. And these were on sale. And I will tell you, I love these things. Great flavor. Add a nice color to any plate that you're gonna use. All right. A couple of them to go along with the meal. Nice little snack on the side. And then, because in Eepa's kitchen, we always have a drink to go with our meal. This is kind of breakfast time for us. We're going to go with mimosas. Our recipe. You know what we should have done? This is for all you out there too. With all these peaches, we could have made a peach Bellini, but you're here for free, so you get what you get. A little bit of Moscato. And some semi-fresh squeezed orange juice. All right. Let's eat. All right. So we're all set. We're going to go ahead and give these things a taste test. Wow. So right away, you get a little bit of that spice from the breading, but the habanero and the peaches add that little bit of sweet and spicy all together. You got a little bit of the salty flavor from the chicken and the spices you put in. It's a real nice mix. The biscuit, it's nice and fluffy. It's still buttery. It's not dry. It's actually, when you look at the pan when you're done, you see all that butter residue in the bottom. So it really is, it's a great biscuit. Great by itself. We do sausage and gravy with them. Sometimes I just make some eggs and put a little ham and cheese on them. We have little sandwiches like that. The nice thing about these biscuits, if you put them in a covered container, you can leave them on your counter for a couple of days. They'll be fine. I usually warm them up a little bit in the microwave before I use them the next day. The sauce is good for a couple of weeks in the fridge, and you can use that in a myriad of things because it's got a little bit of that spice, a little of that sweet. I've made pork chops and put it on there. You can do a whole lot of different things with it. Just, dip in vegetables if you want. There's a lot of uses for it. So go a little crazy, have some fun with it. And that's what it's all about. It's like, don't do just what we do. I like to go to restaurants, see something I like, bring it back, make my adjustments to it. I think we did a good job with this one. So we're gonna say from Eepa's Kitchen, if you liked what you saw today, give us a like, give us a share, subscribe, click all the stuff. And with that said, we're going to go ahead and toast you guys out. Thanks a lot, Derek. Nice job today.
Good job.
And we'll see you next time.